let's take a look at your timeline now. You may notice something about the timeline. Not only can you get more real estate because you get rid of the workspace, but what's happening over here on the left side? You remember the Smart Tool? The Smart Tool that was introduced as a way to make it easy to make an interactive timeline. Well, the Smart Tool is gone. Well, it's hidden. It's not totally gone. It is actually turned into buttons that can be mapped or put into your timeline set of tools up across the top here. Well, a pain point that editors had was with the Smart Tool being on the left side of the timeline. Sometimes you would go and select tracks, and you would accidentally, turn on or off a tool in the Smart Tool. So by taking it and moving it up here, or to buttons that you can map, we've actually gotten a little smarter with it. If you right-click on the segment mode of the Smart Tool, you'll see that you can turn on or off what tool you'd like to have active. If I go to the Trim tool, I can have my trim tools active or not. And I can also hold down a modifier, and every time I click, it's changing to a different selection for the Smart Tool. So the Smart Tool is up here. The transition manipulation, which was also part of the Smart Tool, is mappable. So those are all now moved from the left side of the timeline, which is very nice. All right, the weightlifter is back. Woo! I know it's the little things. The weightlifter, which some people actually have said, we didn't know the weightlifter went away. The lift and extract buttons, which initially, when Media Composer was first designed, came up with the scissors, which actually did a cut and ripple to close up any gaps, and the weightlifter, the lift man that just lifted an edit or lifted an in and out point from your timeline, went away several years ago when editors or new editors were asking or saying they didn't know what the weightlifter did. So there was a new icon which was designed, which was just a little arrow going up, and for the extract, it was a yellow arrow with a little indent mark with a ripple and a lift. So just for the sake of coming back with some amazing icons that sort of are iconic to Media Composer, the weightlifter and the scissors have been brought back, and it actually got some applause when we revealed that, which was great. Also, some other things that have been added into your tools here. If I go to Tools and bring up something like the Audio tool, tools can be added to, again, be tabbed to your windows, Timeline, or the Audio tool. But we also have a new tool that we've added called the Inspector tool. And the Inspector tool is your metadata. Now, you may be thinking, well, I can usually get that if I just do get info on the clip. But the nice thing about the Inspector tool is if I go in and I want to take a look at some clips, if I click on a clip, it's going to bring up the metadata for the clip that I've selected. So you'll see it changes depending on what I select. But it's not just in the bin. If I select the clip in the source window, the metadata changes. If I select the record window, that information changes. So the nice thing about this is I can instantly take a look at a sequence and get information on how many tracks, what tracks are being used, the duration, the format, the frame rate, name, and I can even go in and change metadata. So if I select a clip and I want to change the color of that clip, I can do that here. And I don't have to go in and go back to text mode and then try to sift through all of my columns or bring up certain columns. I can see all of the metadata right down here. So again, a nice way to view, and I can still remain in frame mode and still get all of the information that I can see right here. And I can change names. I can change any data that can be typically changed from the columns that are set up. All right. Cool. So as far as UI, everything is what you see right here. Again, I don't think you would see anything that is different. I mean, again, anything editorially is still there. Your bins are still there. If I have a script that I want to bring in, I could even have a script that I'm using the script sync or the scripting tools, but I could bring that up in a panel itself and have it set up to be able to go in and take a look at or sync. So scripts will come up here. But other tools that have been added or other features, we talk about finishing and delivery, which is very important, especially nowadays. So if I want to change my display, you'll see that I can now go up to full quality float. That's 32-bit float. So that's the highest quality for working in high res, for deliverable, for VFX that you can work inside of Media Composer, which is great. Everything all in one package. So being able to even go in and do different compression, if I take a clip and I want to transcode it, we'll go to transcode. What you'll see is we have a whole series of new compressions. Actually, it's interesting because it's called Dnx, Dnx HD, Dnx HR, you all know are really great compressed codecs, but this is called Dnx Uncompressed. It's an uncompressed compression. It's actually a very high quality codec that we've created that goes up to 32-bit float. Now, you need to have hardware that will support that storage-wise and be able to play it back. You can work in proxy mode here, but you will see, by the way, ACE is RGB. So again, we have full ACES workflow for creating transcoded media at an RGB ACES format. But Dnx Uncompressed going 8-bit, 10-bit, 12-bit, 16, or all the way up to 32-bit float is great, a great way to work. Now, other things that we have added to the new version of Media Composer is I'm going to go to my media creation and show you media type. We are now supporting MXF OP1A inside of Media Composer. So your Media Composer media, you can mix and match OP Atom, OP1A. You can link immediately to MXF OP1A media. It's actually putting it into a different Avid Media file folder, whereas the MXF media file folder, if geeking out a little bit here, Avid Media file folder under MXF is where all of your OP Atom media is. There's another file folder that is going to be created where all of the MXF OP1A media will reside. So it'll keep those separate, but you can mix and match OP1A and OP Atom media in the same Avid project and fully supporting MXF OP1A natively inside of Media Composer. Also, as far as exporting, if I go to export my project, I'm working in a high-res format, full 32-bit float. I can go now to my options, and I can export an IMF package directly from Media Composer. So that will export for companies that are expecting a full IMF compatible package, the folder with the XML data, with MXF media, with everything all bundled together, so that could be handed off in one full package. So
There's
that's
a couple
also
of questions, Michael. So first of all, Ken, cheers. He says, finally supporting OP1A, hurrah, which is awesome. I'm going to work backwards through these questions for relevance. Alex has asked, will we support AVC intra OP1A direct from camera natively, or what codecs in OP1A are supported?
I don't have the full list yet. I think it's still being worked on, so expect that in a what's new or what will be compiled in the beginning. Right now, it's what was it? I can't even think. OP1A, Dnx OP1A. I'm sorry.
Cool. We can provide that.
We'll come back to that.
I'll make a note of that question. There was an earlier question asking whether we can get multiple sequences, total duration by selecting a few and viewing through Inspector.
Oh, that's a good question. And I haven't tried that, but let's do that live. How about that? I love that. So if I go to my sequences, I choose one sequence. Still showing fish. Let me follow selection. There we go. So I'm going to do a shift select. Let's see, I'm just going to see one of them is 217. This one is 26. So if I select them both, no, it doesn't look like it's doing a cumulative, but that's a nice feature request. I'm going to make a note of that.